Please join me in Gasho, or with palms together. Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Last week at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego, we celebrated our temple's 95th anniversary. It was a celebration not of a building or physical location, but a celebration of those people who established the temple in 1926, those people who continued to share in the Dharma in 2021, and all of those people who kept the temple alive, open, or operating in the years in between. It was a celebration of our Sangha. The Sanskrit word Sangha is often translated as association, assembly, company, or community, and originally in Buddhism, it referred to the monastic community of ordained men or monks, and later included ordained women or nuns. The first Buddhist Sangha was comprised of Shakyamuni Buddha's 5 former ascetic colleagues, the friends he practiced with prior to his enlightenment. According to Buddhist tradition, after leaving the Bodhi tree under which he was meditating when he awakened to the truth, the Buddha returned to Sarnath, where his 5 former buddies were still continuing their strict ascetic practices without him. As the Buddha approached the deer park at Sarnath, those 5 monks noticed the man that they knew as Siddhartha headed their way and decided as a group that they wouldn't welcome him back. They felt that Siddhartha wasn't sincere in his practice because he had abandoned their way of strict spiritual training and escaped into a life of what these 5 men saw as self-indulgent. That is, if you call eating a bowl of rice gruel each day indulgent, and I suppose that is to someone who only eats a grain or 2 of rice every day. Anyway, they were not going to accept this quitter among them. But as the Buddha entered the deer park, the 5 monks couldn't help but notice that there was something different about him. He radiated a peacefulness and assurance that made the ascetics forget their agreement to ignore and turn their backs on this former friend. In fact, they were drawn to the Buddha's radiance and requested that he teach them what he had learned. The very first sermon, or Dharma teaching, which the Buddha gave to the 5 monks at the deer park, was the revelations of the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Noble Path. So we might say this was the first instance of the 3 treasures existing in those assembled there in Deer Park. So we might say that this was the first instance of the 3 treasures existing, and that assembled there in Deer Park was the Buddha, who was the teacher or enlightened one, the Dharma, which are his teachings or the ultimate truth, and the newly formed Sangha, who were the newly minted followers of the path to awakening. From this humble beginning at Deer Park, which included only the Buddha's 5 ascetic friends, the Sangha grew and included commoners as well as kings. People joined the community, this early Sangha, upon hearing the wisdom of the Buddha that sparked their wish to end their suffering. In the modern Jodo Shinshu context, the term Sangha is simply the Buddhist spiritual community. Often in BCA temples, we use the term temple members when we're referring to our Sanghas. This is somewhat inaccurate and exclusionary because temple member frequently implies a person who pays dues or a monetary membership fee to the temple. And even those who don't pay annual membership fees, yet still contribute in other ways to the temple and participate in sharing the Dharma, can be considered Sangha members. Shinran referred to his followers as equal companions, ondobo ondogyo, travelers in the Dharma. And I too personally prefer inclusion to exclusion, particularly when referring to other travelers on the path of awakening. When we recite the 3 treasures, we state that I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. To take refuge is to seek protection or shelter in the Sangha. To state that I take refuge in the Sangha means that the Sangha is a source of help, relief, or comfort in my times of trouble and difficulty. When we recite the Tisarana, we state that I go to the Sangha for guidance. In seeking guidance from the Sangha, I'm looking to my co-equal travelers for help with my pain, my stress, or my problems. The Sangha is the community of fellow beings that are walking the Buddhist path together. The Sangha here at BTSD is a community made up of co-equal travelers, whether they are the resident minister, a BWA member, a minister's assistant, a taiko drummer, the temple president, a Dharma school teacher, a member of the board of directors, or an ordinary person without any labels, titles, or other group affiliation. I go to fellow travelers for guidance. We go to co-equal practicers in the Dharma for guidance. We don't say that we go to enlightened masters, deified teachers, or the grand poobah of the temple. We go to the beings who are walking the path with us. We go to the community in which we practice, and we go to the community in which we learn. I go to the Sangha for guidance. We go to the Sangha for guidance. In return, I receive the teachings and compassionate care from the Sangha. That's the guidance which I seek. Over time, the relationship between that I, this individual or this singular being, and the Sangha, a collection of co-equal beings, deepens and changes. That I, that we, which goes to the Sangha for guidance, becomes part of the Sangha. I become, we become part of the guidance, part of the teachings, part of the refuge, part of the compassionate care. We are the Sangha that we go to. We are the Sangha that we take refuge in. And we are the guidance which we seek. Although we recite, I go to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha for guidance in that particular order, it is the Sangha that guides us to the Buddha and the Dharma. My co-equal travelers on the path guide me to enlightenment and the truth. So here we are today, some 2,500 years after Shakyamuni Buddha passed into parinirvana, and 95 years since the founding of the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. How important and relevant is the Sangha to us today? As a nation of individuals, we're often boastful of being able to stand on our own 2 feet and go it alone. Today, more than ever, we can assert that reliance on ourselves. And to some degree, this might seem to be true. After all, many sutras have been translated into English, so study of the scriptures is possible and available to any of us. There are innumerable books that have been written by wonderful teachers about almost any and all branch or tradition of Buddhism and on every aspect of the Buddhist teachings. The collected works of Shinran, the writings of our Jodo Shinshu founder, is available in English as 2 hardcover books or at the website shinranworks.com. The internet has a myriad of sites dedicated to Buddhism, from wiki pages to scholarly writing, from personal blogs to the web pages of temples and monasteries around the world. What does the Sangha do that all of these technological advancements over the past 2.5 millennia can't provide to the individual seeker of the Dharma? The Sangha provides refuge. The Sangha provides support. Each member of the Sangha supports each other. Today's Sangha welcomes each of us exactly as we are, with all that we bring, our baggage, our karma, both good and bad, our wisdom, and our delusions. And as members of the Sangha, we embrace the others, our co-equal travelers, as well as their neuroses, their karma, both good and bad, their wisdom, and their delusions. We need the Sangha to keep us on the path, just as the Sangha needs us to stay on the path. What we find to be difficult alone, we might find easier with the strength of numbers behind us, with co-equal travelers all around us. By taking refuge in the Sangha, we become part of the larger community of Buddhists. By going to the Sangha for guidance, we too become the guidance for others. What we find to be difficult alone, we might find easier with the strength of numbers behind us, with co-equal travelers all around us. By taking refuge in the Sangha, we become part of the larger community of Buddhists. By going to the Sangha for guidance, we too become the guidance for others. That's something we can't gain by sitting on a cushion alone, surrounded by books on Buddhism, or by surfing Buddhist websites all day while sipping a latte at Starbucks. The Sangha is an equal part of the three treasures for an important reason. Without the Sangha, the other two treasures lose their meaning. The Sangha also provides something intangible, yet something very powerful. The Sangha is the glue that keeps everything together. The BTSD Sangha keeps everything together and continues to provide refuge and guidance after 95 years. In the days, months, and years ahead, may we continue to turn to each other for guidance, and may we find refuge in each other, and may we all be embraced and sustained by wisdom and compassion. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda.